This place has almost a mythic quality about it. It is one of the most rugged and least inhabited places on Earth. Not exactly what you might picture on a tourist brochure, but you know, I can't wait to feel the openness and the isolation. I would love to see the subtle beauty in the landscape. And I really want to meet the people who can live here and handle it, which is why I've come to the Australian Outback. On this trip, I'll be visiting the top end of Australia, from Darwin down through the Catherine Gorge to the extremely remote Bullow River Cattle Station. An hour and a half from Darwin, by plane, is a cattle station of 500,000 acres called Bullow River. It's in the Northern Territory, just bordering Western Australia and the Kimberley Range. It's a working property that takes guests who want to experience the homesteading life. The front gate is 75 kilometers from the house. Isolated, you might say.
Here, one over me, Valerie.
Hello.
Hi, Valerie. How are you? Hi, Barbara.
Hello, Barbara. How are you?
I'm Ken. Ken
Hello,
Harris.
Ken. Nice to meet
Husband and
you.
wife.
I'm so happy to hear that. I was a little worried about the marital situation. Well, this is far away.
A long way from a lot of places, yes.
Wow.
So it's the middle of
amazing
an exciting place. Beautiful valley. Really lovely.
So can we fish?
Absolutely.
Are the crocs going to get me?
No, not unless you get right in their space.
I won't get right in there.
This is their country, so you've got to be careful.
A unique tourism experience, to be sure. This is cattle country. They spend their lives roaming this huge expanse, and mustering or rounding them up is a real challenge, so they use helicopters. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Ready, let's go.
There's only one way to experience that firsthand, in a tiny Bell helicopter with a kamikaze pilot named Dave, who is an expert at finding, chasing, and corralling wild cattle. This is tough and dangerous work. Ranch owner Marley Raniker practically lives out here during mustering season.
The ugliest bull I've ever seen in my life.
They get uglier the closer you get.
He's nasty, eh?
He would kill you. He's more than nasty. He's never ever seen people before. He's completely wild, this animal. He's never been in the yard before, ever. And then he's just kind of like an outlaw.
Where's the bull going?
He's going to be an American hamburger.
Oh, is he really?
You eat these. You didn't know that?
Yeah, I knew it, but you just didn't have to remind me I do.
Yeah.
Why would this be a great vacation for me?
There are a lot more travelers out there that are interested in really the real thing. Okay? Not a dude ranch, not a resort, not a pebbly beach. I mean, you can get that pretty much anywhere, but this is the real thing.
What? Go. It's okay. Go. That's it. Go. They listen to me. My kids never listen to me.
I told you missed your vacation. You're a cow whisperer.
I'm a cow whisperer. The only way to fully appreciate the open spaces of this part of Australia is from the air. A Bullow River helicopter tour is absolutely essential. My guide is Franz Reneker, Marley's husband. It's easy to imagine this hot, harsh, and barren environment as empty. But you have to open your eyes. It is full of life, and because so much of it is unexplored, also full of surprises. This really is the ultimate below river adventure, to helicopter across, 500,000 acres of property through this amazing gorge system, and then you find yourself here at this waterfall, which is just spectacular. In the wet season, the water's just shooting down these rocks and into that pool. But now in the dry season, it's just this peaceful trickle. It is so beautiful here. And the owners of the property only found this and landed here and explored it 3 years ago. Just spectacular. And there's an added bonus.
Now, the next best thing about the falls, apart from how beautiful they are, is that apparently you can swim here. France has assured me that no crocodiles are going to eat me because they can't come straight up the waterfall. So this is a first for me in Australia, going swimming in something that isn't chlorinated. So this is pretty good. Actually, it's not that deep, but it's very cool and nice. And I'm thrilled to be not boiling hot.
It's not hard to see why so many Australians love this part of their country. Golfer Greg Norman stayed at Bullow and thanked them for showing his kids the real Australia. Wide open spaces, teeming with wildlife, but it is tough. I cannot imagine how the Aborigines, let alone the first homesteaders, survived. I'm happy to be an eco-tourist. Sunrise in the Outback, peaceful and exotic. The ducks are out in full force, taking a quick dip and a once around the billabong, which is what they call these large ponds. It's like you're eavesdropping on nature. Everything comes to life, including the lily pads. 40 million years of isolation from other major land masses has given this continent a collection of plants and animals unique in the world. As if, it's been pointed out, they misread the manual. I love these trees. I was just amazed the first time I saw one of these boab trees, which some people call upside down trees, logically, because they do look like they were shoved in the ground with the roots sticking in the air. I think they're sort of pneumatic looking though. It looks like somebody pumped them up and they're about to explode. They don't get all that high, but they can get really fat. Apparently there was one in Western Australia that was so huge around that they kind of hollowed it out and used it as a jail. Termite mounds, of course. They're made out of mud and termite saliva, one of nature's great building materials. And they keep the lawns mowed nicely in the outback. But the best news is, if you grind this stuff up and put it on your tennis court, you don't get weeds. We have a sort of condo development going on here. This is the most populated place in the outback I've seen. You start to believe that nothing can surprise you. What are you guys looking for?
Looking for a frog, a tree frog in the rocks, believe it or not.
You're looking for, why?
To take some away and grow them and breed them.
Oh, cool. What kind of frog?
It's a magnificent tree frog.
Is that just your description?
No, that's their name.
Yeah, they're called, are they magnificent?
They truly are.
Yeah? What do you do with them? You sell them, put them in aquariums, or for scientific purposes?
I'll take them back to my place near Darwin and breed them, and hopefully when I get numbers of them, sell them to the pet trade.
So how many have you found?
One. So we call it the $2,000 frog at the moment. That's about how much it's cost to find it.
Oh my gosh. Ranch hand Ken Harris assured me it was just a short stroll to see some fabulous Aboriginal paintings. They were discovered just a few years ago and are being dated. They could be 1,000 years old.
Well, if you just come along here and you can get a good view of some of the Aboriginal art. To date, this is the best example that we have here on Buller River. It is indicative of the usual sort of artwork we see of Aboriginals up in this area.
So you got emus, crocodiles, snakes, a large male human.
That's right.
And no mistaking that one.
I've heard the fishing here is fantastic, so Franz has agreed to take me out in search of the local specialty, the barramundi.
Okay, you're set to go. You just
Yep.
wind her up a bit, throw her straight out.
Yep.
Probably another metre up, so that's good, yeah.
Okay. And I let the mullet just do the work. It goes swimming away and goes and finds me a barramundi.
Get big sharks in here.
Do you?
Yeah, stingrays and all the other.
Do you catch them?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we get one today.
But they're all over the waters here.
Yeah, yeah, up here when it's if it's wet, if it doesn't smell like chlorine or it hasn't got tiles on the bottom, don't swim in it.
Really?
Big crocodile in there. They're quite happy in the fresh water. They don't have to be in the salt water.
I love fishing. I mean, my dad was this obsessed fisherman. He's a fabulous fisherman and somehow managed to turn us all completely off. So it wasn't until I was much older. And then I went salmon fishing, fly fishing, and that, I mean, I just couldn't believe how wonderful fishing was. Good God, I never thought I'd be fishing in the Outback.
Don't waste time catching catfish. You go straight under the barramundi.
Oops, I just want to keep the tension on.
The size of it.
Holy cow, that's a good one. Well, I'm really sorry, but you're my first big barramundi, and I'm actually kind of proud. I think that's just great. You were hard. I don't know how the heck you'd land anything bigger than you. So how big? How big?
I think it'd be 8 to 9 pounds.
There's 20, 30, 8 or 9. I'll say, I went to the Outback, caught a barramundi. No worries, size of a croc.
From the fishing hole, we decide to take the scenic route back to the ranch on a hovercraft. What better way to see the river at sunset? The mud and the mullet are flying.
I am so disgustingly dirty playing in the mud. Look at my sunglasses. But that is so fun, this little hovercraft ride.
One last adventure on the way home. That's when the wallabies and kangaroos come out.
Go, hop, hop, hop. That is very cool. It's like on African lion safari.
We arrive back at the ranch for an exquisite sunset. Then it's off to the kitchen with my fish.
Oh, that's beautiful. That looks beautiful. I would like to say cheers. Cheers. To Marley and France, to Buller River Station. Cheers.
I'm getting hungry.
I've seen a lot of strange creatures in the Outback, but these bats at the Catherine Gorge are just bizarre. I'm hoping my guide Dave can shed a little light on them.
Tell me about these bats. They're horrifying, actually.
They're not horrifying, they're lovely.
I've never seen them during the day.
Well, they're nocturnal. This is them having a sleep, believe it or not, even though they're so noisy. At night they fly off. As soon as the sun goes down, they fly off, go and look for a feed.
Just in swarms, though.
Yeah. Sometimes you get up to about 7 million in a swarm. There's not that many here at the moment.
I wouldn't want to be standing under that. It would be a little messy.
You'd want to be wearing a raincoat, mate, trust me.
This is one of the finest hiking areas in Australia. It's now called Nitmaluk National Park.
The payoff is obviously fabulous.
Yeah, there's about 140 kilometres of walking tracks in the park, and we've just done the shortest one. I can take you on a longer one if you like.
No, we're going to go on the river because mostly, I guess, you get a chance. Most people see the gorge through the river. This amazing place is made up of 13 gorges stretched out over 15 kilometers. Each gorge is separated by a set of rapids, and it's not easy if you're paddling. It looks a lot like human pinball. We have to leave our boat and make our way to a new one in order to get to the second gorge.
How did it get like this?
Well, millions of years ago, it was a big delta system and all the sand was just compacted on top of itself. And about 20 million years ago, there was a large upheaval in the Earth's crust, pushed all the sandstone up and then fractured it. And the rock's about 1,650 million years old.
But I mean, it looks like the land that time forgot.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Well, it looks like dinosaurs could just, peek over the top or out of one of those caves.
I hope not.
You just think if you were especially if you were just paddling along quietly by yourself, you'd be just, really communing with the spirits and thinking that there are much larger things that work in this world.
Oh, most definitely.
He's so cute.
Yeah, it's a northern snapping turtle.
Oh, maybe a little less cute. Really?
It's a male one.
And you know this how?
Because of the length of their tail. The male's got a really long tail and the female's got a shorter tail.
Why?
Mating purpose.
I don't even know why I asked that. It is impressive and majestic, a land before time landscape well worth seeing. I made one quick stop on the 3-hour drive from Catherine up to Darwin at a town called Adelaide River to pay my respects to Charlie. The first international Outback hero, of course, was Crocodile Dundee. This looks a little bit like the Walkabout Creek Hotel, doesn't it? Actually, it's the Adelaide River Inn, and it's the last resting place of the famous Charlie, who's the buffalo in Crocodile Dundee. Remember when, Dundee does this and Charlie just gets mesmerized and stunned. Actually, they were just like pumping him full of all kinds of narcotics to make him sleepy. But he was a fixture in this town for 30 years, in addition to being a movie star. When he died of cancer in 2000, they had him stuffed, and where else? Just bring him to the bar. When you've had enough of getting away from it all, there is no better place to get back to it than Darwin. It is a tropical, ethnically diverse city with a distinctively frontier flavor, named after the famous biologist, Charles Darwin. This place is evolving very nicely, thank you very much. The average age here is 29. It is very hip and happening, although it's had some tough times. It was bombed in World War II. Cyclone Tracy just about wiped the place out in Christmas 1974. But the oil and gas industry's here, the railway's finally arriving. There's a feeling here that this is where the Outback meets Asia, on the very outer edge of Australia. And it's a very cool place. Crocodilus Park is a commercial zoo run by scientists. It's a great place to get as close as you would want to with the Outback's most famous residents. The Australian saltwater is the king of the crocs, a living dinosaur that will eat anything. There are about 70,000 of them living in this part of the country.
Crocodilus Park, 5-star accommodation. It is just a retirement home. He does not have to move around so much looking for something to eat, gets fed nearly every day, water all year round, and he has a girlfriend. A 6-pack of beer. TV watching football, it's a true Darwin male. Now the water down here is only about 1.5 meters deep, so we are quite safe, if it does decide to jump up out of the water for us. There we go, a little bit of a jump. We'll give him one more try. Just see if the female can do any better. Head over the cement barrier. All right, straight down the throat, no chewing action. Grab, juggle, and then a swallow.
No one knows more about crocodiles than zoologist Graham Webb. He's been described as Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, with a doctorate.
Have you developed a love for them or an appreciation for especially the saltwater ones?
I tell you, you really start to admire them. I mean, they're tough. They're tough. You go swimming in the Adelaide River here, next to Darwin, and there's a 100% chance you'll get taken and killed. Like, it's not like it's 100%.
You can't go wrong with an exhibit of Australian creatures. They are so amazing, including these killer birds called cassowaries, magnificent sea turtles, and wild Australian dogs known as dingoes.
You can't get that.
Get away from my toes.
Can't get that killer instinct there. Come on.
Oh yeah, there's just something about come over and pet my dingo that just makes one want to run the other way.
80% of all that lives in Australia, flora and fauna, exists nowhere else.
In a world that's grown increasingly small, Australia is still a faraway land, and the Outback and the northern tip are even farther away. Many Australians consider this Northern Territory the real Australia, even though very few of them live here. And I can see that. I have never seen bigger skies. I've never seen better stars. You're in the middle of this rough nowhere, and all of a sudden there's a beautiful waterfall. It is tropical and forbidding, but it is also wild and open and free. And actually the people are too. It's quite a trip.
Hi Valerie, welcome aboard.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Happy to go home.
Oh yeah, any shopping this time?
No, I was working.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Any carpets?
I got carpets in Morocco.
Really? Any earrings?
Yes, I got these in the Cook Islands
Oh,
actually.
very nice.
So see pearls.
What about shoes?
I got a pair in Italy.
Did you?
Yes. I did all my Christmas shopping actually. Next time I'll get you something.
Oh, you're so nice.
Just a little bit of shopping, mostly work.
All right.